Imagine yourself adrift on the open sea, surrounded by the endless expanse of water, the gentle rocking of the waves beneath you, and the cry of seagulls overhead. The fishing boat is your entire world for the next month. Supplies are limited, and the only food source available is the fish you catch from the surrounding waters. The question looms, could you survive for a month eating nothing but fish? At first glance, the idea seems plausible, even appealing. Fish is widely regarded as a healthful food, a lean protein packed with omega-3 fatty acids, essential minerals, and a host of vitamins. But as the days wear on and your diet remains unchanging, the challenges of such an existence become increasingly clear. Survival on the sea has long been a test of human endurance and ingenuity. Throughout history, sailors and fishermen have faced periods when fish was their only sustenance. Yet, modern science and recent findings provide us with a deeper understanding of what such a diet truly entails. To answer whether you could survive, and more importantly thrive, on a fishing boat for a month eating only fish, we must delve into the nutritional realities, health risks, and environmental factors that shape this scenario. At the outset, fish offers an impressive array of nutrients. When you haul a fresh catch onto your deck, you are securing a meal rich in high-quality protein, crucial for maintaining muscle mass, repairing tissues, and supporting the immune system. Fish also delivers essential fats, including omega-3 fatty acids, which play a key role in brain health, cardiovascular function, and reducing inflammation. Many varieties of fish bring a bounty of vitamins and minerals. Vitamin D for bone health, B12 for energy and nerve function, selenium, phosphorus, and iodine to support various metabolic processes. In the first few days, you might feel energized by this protein-rich fare. The meals would be satisfying, the flavors varied depending on your catch, perhaps the delicate taste of snapper one day, the robust flavor of mackerel the next. Your body would adapt to burning protein and fat as primary energy sources, and your hunger would be sated. But as the weeks progress, the cracks in this seemingly ideal diet would begin to show. One of the most immediate and significant concerns is the lack of certain essential nutrients that fish alone cannot provide. Most notably, fish contains little to no vitamin C. This water-soluble vitamin is critical for immune function, the synthesis of collagen, which maintains skin, blood vessels, and connective tissues, and the absorption of iron. Without a regular source of vitamin C, the risk of developing scurvy increases with each passing week. Scurvy, once the scourge of sailors centuries ago, manifests as fatigue, swollen and bleeding gums, joint pain, and, if left untreated, can be fatal. Modern science has confirmed that the human body cannot synthesize its own vitamin C. It must come from dietary sources, typically fresh fruits and vegetables, foods that are conspicuously absent from your fishing boat diet. The absence of dietary fiber poses another challenge. Fish lacks fiber entirely, an essential component for healthy digestion. Over the course of a month, this deficiency could lead to constipation, discomfort, and disturbances in gut health. Fiber not only promotes regular bowel movements, but also supports a diverse and healthy gut microbiome, which is linked to immune function, mental health, and even weight regulation. Without it, your digestive system would feel the strain. Beyond these deficiencies, subsisting solely on fish means missing out on several other important micronutrients. Certain B vitamins, especially folate and thiamine, are found in abundance in whole grains, legumes, and green vegetables. but are not adequately supplied by fish alone. Over time, these deficiencies could impair energy production, cognitive function, and red blood cell formation, leaving you feeling fatigued, mentally foggy, and more susceptible to illness. But nutritional gaps are only part of the equation. Recent research has raised pressing concerns about the safety of consuming fish as a primary food source over an extended period. Fish, especially larger and longer-lived species, can accumulate environmental contaminants that pose significant health risks. Mercury, a heavy metal, is perhaps the most well-known of these toxins. As small fish are eaten by larger predators, mercury concentrations rise up the food chain, a process known as biomagnification. Consuming fish high in mercury can lead to mercury poisoning, which affects the nervous system, causing symptoms such as tremors, memory loss, irritability, and, in severe cases, organ failure. The U.S. Environmental Protection Agency has issued specific guidelines for fish consumption, particularly for vulnerable populations such as pregnant women, nursing mothers, and young children. These recommendations advise limiting intake of species known to harbor higher mercury levels, such as swordfish, king mackerel, and certain types of tuna. On a fishing boat, where your catch may range from small sardines to larger predators, the risk of mercury exposure becomes a real and pressing concern. Over a month, repeated consumption of contaminated fish could have cumulative effects, particularly if your diet lacks variety. In addition to mercury, there are other environmental pollutants to consider. Polychlorinated biphenyls, or PCBs, are industrial chemicals that persist in the environment and accumulate in fatty tissues of fish. These substances have been linked to cancer, immune system disruption, and developmental problems. And most recently, researchers have drawn attention to a new class of contaminants, per- and polyfluoroalkyl substances, commonly known as PFAS or forever chemicals. These synthetic compounds, used in everything from firefighting foam to non-stick cookware, are highly resistant to breaking down in the environment. A 2023 study revealed that consuming just one freshwater fish could be equivalent to drinking a month's worth of water contaminated with PFAS. These chemicals have been linked to liver damage, hormone disruption, and an increased risk of certain cancers. On a fishing boat, you might catch both saltwater and freshwater species, depending on your location. Either way, the risk of ingesting harmful levels of PFAS is a sobering reality. Unlike some toxins, PFAS are difficult for the gut to eliminate, and their health effects can be long-lasting. The cumulative exposure over a month, especially if you are eating fish for every meal, could be significant. The potential for harm doesn't end there. Overfishing in certain waters can disrupt local ecosystems, leading to a decrease in biodiversity and the collapse of fish population. If your fishing grounds are limited, or if you are forced to rely on a single species for sustenance, the sustainability of your diet and the health of the marine environment comes into question. Despite these risks, there are some who might argue that fish provides enough nutrition to get by, at least in the short term. After all, people have survived on fish-heavy diets for centuries. The traditional diets of some coastal populations, such as the Inuit of the Arctic, are based heavily on seafood. However, it's important to note that these diets are rarely made up of fish alone. Other sources of nutrition, such as seaweed, marine mammals, and forage plants, often provide the missing vitamins and minerals needed for health. On your fishing boat, however, your options are far more limited. Without access to fresh produce, grains, or other supplementary foods, you would begin to feel the effects of nutritional deficiencies within weeks. The symptoms would start subtly, perhaps a persistent fatigue, difficulty concentrating, or a lingering sense of malaise. As time went on, more serious symptoms would emerge: joint pain, dental problems, and increased susceptibility to infections. Your body would send clear signals that something vital is missing. There are ways to mitigate some risks, though none are perfect. For instance, you might try to eat the entire fish, including the skin and organs, to maximize your intake of fat-soluble vitamins and minerals. Some traditional practices involve fermenting fish, which can increase the availability of certain nutrients and even produce small amounts of vitamin C. But these measures are limited in their effectiveness and may not be practical or palatable under survival conditions. Hydration also becomes a crucial consideration. While fish contains some water, it is not nearly enough to sustain proper hydration, especially under the hot sun and salty air of the open sea. You would need a separate source of fresh water, whether through stored supplies, desalination, or rain collection, to avoid the dangers of dehydration. Mental health is another factor that should not be overlooked. The monotony of eating the same food day in and day out can lead to a phenomenon known as appetite fatigue, where you lose interest in eating altogether, even as your body desperately needs calories and nutrients. The psychological strain of isolation, combined with the physical effects of nutrient deficiencies, could take a toll on your mood, motivation, and overall resilience. So, could you survive a month on a fishing boat, eating only fish? The answer is complex. In terms of basic caloric needs and protein intake, the answer is yes. Most people could survive, at least in the short term. Your body would draw on its reserves, and the high protein content of fish would stave off starvation. But survival is not the same as thriving. The absence of crucial vitamins, particularly vitamin C, would put you at serious risk for scurvy and other health problems. The lack of fiber would disrupt your digestion. The cumulative exposure to environmental toxins like mercury, PCs, and PFAS could have lasting health consequences. And the psychological strain of such a restrictive diet could sap your will to endure. Recent scientific findings underscore the urgency of these concerns. The revelation that a single freshwater fish may contain as much PFAS as a month's worth of contaminated water serves as a stark warning about the hidden dangers in our food supply. The EPA's ongoing advisories about mercury and PCBs remind us that not all fish are created equal, and that variety and moderation are essential for health. If you were to attempt such an ordeal, the best strategy would be to diversify your catch as much as possible, favoring smaller, shorter-lived species lower on the food chain, which tend to accumulate fewer toxins. If you had access to seaweed or edible plants, even in small quantities, you could dramatically reduce your risk of vitamin deficiencies. And of course, ensuring a reliable source of clean drinking water would be absolutely essential. Ultimately, the scenario of surviving a month at sea on fish alone is a powerful illustration of the importance of dietary diversity. While fish is a remarkable food, offering many benefits, it cannot provide everything your body needs to function optimally. The interplay of nutrition, environmental exposure, and psychological resilience shapes the outcome of such a challenge. Our modern understanding of nutrition, combined with recent research into environmental contaminants, paints a clear picture. The healthiest way to live, even in a survival situation, is through balance and variety. The sea provides, but it also demands respect for its limits and its hidden dangers. So, if you ever find yourself on a fishing boat with only the ocean's bounty to sustain you, remember the lessons of history and science. Fish can keep you alive, but it cannot provide everything you need. Prepare, diversify, and respect the limits of your environment. In the end, survival is not just about making do with what you have. It's about understanding what your body truly needs and finding ways to meet those needs no matter where life or the sea may take you.